All right, so the movie starts and it's super intense. There's this guy, Bobby, and he's just tearing through a forest, running for his life. You're immediately like, whoa, what's going on? And then, bam, it flashes back to show us how he got into this mess. So we meet Bobby and his wife, Tracy, and they're living in this cramped city apartment. Tracy's super bummed out because they've been trying to have a kid forever, and it's just not happening. Her biggest dream is to have a nice, quiet house, somewhere peaceful, and start a family, but it's like a total no-go on both fronts. Then, one of Tracy's friends comes over and she's just raving about this perfect gated community. It's super peaceful, everyone's great, all that stuff. But then she drops this weird little detail. She says they couldn't get a house there because they told the community they didn't want a second kid. Super strange, right? Her husband is with her and he's basically like, that place is creepy. I wouldn't live there if you paid me. Red flag. Anyway, Tracy is desperate, so the next day they go check it out. They pull up to the gate, and there's no guard, but it just opens by itself, which is weird. The president of the place gives them the grand tour. Tracy and Bobby notice it's crawling with kids, and they're all pretty much the same age. And get this, every single couple has exactly 2 kids. Tracy's friend was right. The president goes on this whole spiel about family values and how there's no crime because everyone is like one big happy family. Then he shows them this massive, gorgeous house. Bobby's like, wait a minute, why is this empty and why is all the furniture still here? The president gives this lame excuse that the old owners had a business issue and had to move. Bobby's not buying it, but Tracy is just in love with the place. The only problem is it's way out of their budget. But no biggie, the president says they have the special program for couples who want to start a family. They just have to fill out a form. So they do, and what do you know? 2 days later, they win the lottery and get the house for super cheap. Bobby knows something is fishy, but Tracy is so happy, he just signs the contract without even reading it. Big mistake. A month later, they move in, and the whole community stops what they're doing to welcome them. A little much, right? Now that they have the house, Tracy wants to start trying for a baby again, and Bobby agrees. The next day, 2 neighbors just try to walk right into their house. Bobby tries to stop them, but they're super pushy and just come in anyway. Later, when Tracy goes to the community market, she gets this creepy feeling that everyone is watching her, but she just brushes it off. A few days later, there's a big Christmas party, and this is where it gets really messed up. This couple starts arguing, and the wife just slaps her husband so hard he falls over. He's only got 1 leg, dude, and nobody helps him. Bobby tries to step in, and suddenly everyone else is like, we got it, and they just whisk the guy away. It was so weird. After that, Bobby sees Sandra jogging and asks about her husband. She looks like she's about to burst into tears and then just makes up this lame story about how her brother died and he's at the funeral. Then she just runs off. Bobby knows she's lying. Anyway, he goes home, and later that night, he can't sleep, so he turns on the TV. So he's flipping through the channels, and he lands on this crazy one. He's literally watching a live feed of his neighbor's house. He sees the wife getting a little too cozy with some other dude, and then her husband just walks in. Bobby is just like, what am I watching? But he just changes the channel. The next morning, he's checking his voicemails, and there's one for Tracy from someone in the community, and they're asking about her pregnancy. Bobby gets so mad, he confronts Tracy like, are you seriously telling these people our private business? And Tracy's just super chill about it. Like, what's the big deal? They're my friends now. Bobby realizes she's totally drinking the Kool-Aid. Then Bobby gets called to this community meeting. It's about Sandra, the woman who slapped her husband. They're all there to discuss it. Bobby's like, this is their personal life? Why are we involved? But the community leader is all, we're a family. This is our duty. And then they sentence her to this messed up punishment. The next day, they're going to make her stand in the middle of the community wearing a pig mask while everyone beats her. What? It was so wrong. And the craziest part? There were cops there just watching it happen. Bobby is seriously freaking out about his future. He tries to go help Sandra, but she just tells him to go away, and everyone else gives him dirty looks for interfering. Later, he runs into Sandra, and she's pretending to be happy, saying the community saved her marriage. Her husband, though, looks totally miserable. So Bobby goes home, and who's there? The community president with some other woman. Bobby is furious because he knows they're just there to brainwash Tracy even more. The president tells him, we're just here to help. It's been 5 months and you haven't conceived yet. And then he drops the bombshell. The contract they signed says if a couple doesn't get pregnant within 6 months, they get kicked out and they don't get their money back. Bobby is stunned. He finally reads the contract and it's full of all these insane rules with even crazier punishments. He's totally panicking. But Tracy is still like, I want to stay here. She just doesn't get it. Bobby's like, they're controlling us. They're taking our freedom, but she won't listen. So Bobby calls a lawyer friend and sends him the contract. The lawyer is just like,
Are you insane? You signed this? Your life is basically over, and it's all illegal, so I can't help you. Bobby begs him to at least find out what happened to the people who lived in their house before. Meanwhile, Tracy is still hanging out with the community people, and they are feeding her all this nonsense. They tell her that all the kids who grow up in this community end up in super powerful positions. Like this little community basically runs the entire country. All the top politicians and everything. It's some serious conspiracy stuff. The lawyer calls Bobby back and says he can't find a single trace of the previous owners. It's like they just vanished. Bobby goes to ask his neighbor about them, and she gets super scared and won't say a word. Now Bobby's really putting it all together. He realizes if he doesn't play along, they're probably going to kill him. So he starts pretending to go along with everything. Time passes, and it's Valentine's.
Tracy finally tells Bobby the best news ever. She's pregnant. He's totally over the moon, but then his phone just starts blowing up with congratulatory texts from everyone in the neighborhood. He's like, wait, how does everyone know? And realizes Tracy told the whole community before she even told him. Total buzzkill. A few days later, it gets even crazier. They're driving home and their neighbor, Sandra, runs into the street screaming for help. Before Bobby can even react, a car just plows into her and speeds off. The sheriff saw the whole thing and just shrugs it off, saying she was drunk and did it on purpose. Like, are you kidding me? Everyone saw her, but they all just stay quiet. After that, Bobby knows that if he ever breaks a rule, that's what's going to happen to him. So he gets home, totally freaked out, and turns on the TV. He's flipping channels and sees the ambulance taking Sandra away on the TV. He changes the channel, and there's a live feed of his neighbors. He changes it again, and it's a live feed of his own house. Get this! The community has cameras everywhere, broadcasting 24/7. There's no privacy at all. That's how everyone knew Tracy was pregnant. He runs over to another neighbor for help, but the guy is terrified and just slams the door in his face, saying, "Leave us alone, we have a daughter." And that's when Bobby learns another messed up rule. If you make a mistake, they punish your whole family. Remember how Sandra said her brother died? Total lie. The community killed him as her punishment. Finally, Tracy gets it. She realizes this place is a complete nightmare, and they have to escape. So they come up with a plan. At night, Tracy will fake going into labor, and Bobby will use it as an excuse to drive her to a real hospital and just keep going. They don't care what happens to them as long as their kid isn't born in this insane place. At night, Tracy starts screaming in fake pain, and Bobby rushes her out of there. But then when he comes back the next day to get her friend, he finds out the community already knows. The president shows up with a bunch of people to grab him. But then, in a total shocker, the president's own husband stabs her with a pair of scissors. He tells Bobby to run because he doesn't want him to end up trapped like he is. So Bobby just books it, and the whole community is chasing him. This is the scene from the very beginning of the movie. He's about to get away when a car cuts him off. And who's driving? His friend, the one who told him about the community in the first place. It was all a setup. He and his wife were part of it the whole time, and they just grab Bobby and start dragging him back. He's fighting, but it's no use. And then the movie jumps ahead 5 years. We see Tracy, and she's totally happy and completely brainwashed. She's got their son, she's planning a second kid, and get this, she's the new president luring in other unsuspecting couples. And Bobby, he's watching them from a window. But he can't do anything about it. Because as punishment for trying to escape, they cut off both of his legs. He's trapped there forever. And that's how the movie just ends. Total gut punch.